Hello, everybody. So here we are. Um, I am on a Windows laptop for using Windows for the first time in, I don't know, maybe almost 20 years. And here we are. We'll see how it goes. The camera is definitely different. Lots of things are different. So I might be fumbling around a little bit today. I've had just a limited amount of time to play around with this laptop and get used to it. So here we are. Okay, so we're going to be working with NVDA today and testing it in Firefox here, which I have open on the window. I have the Aardvark website. I think we are going to think we'll do one of the features pages. We were just having a little bit of an issue with one of those, like a technical issue. And so I think it's probably a good idea to go ahead and do a quick accessibility check on it and make sure
Desktop.
everything is okay. NVDA is on, so bear with me.
Features. AA expanded. Audit management. AA Aardvark features. Features. AA Aardvark. Menu navigate. Remediation manager. Link. Accessibility. Paused.
All right, so I think we'll do this page. This is one of the pages that we were having a little bit of issue with. Um, so I think this is the one that we'll try out. All right. We have a few challenges today. Like, first is I didn't think about the keyboard and mouse situation and that I'm using the camera that's on the laptop, which means my laptop has to be up on a, um, I don't know, on a little shelf, little holder, right, to keep it up at eye level. And I have a Magic Mouse, which, as I understand, doesn't really work with Windows. So I can't connect that, and I just couldn't figure out in time for the stream how to connect my Apple keyboard, which apparently you can do, but I couldn't get it connected in time. So I'm gonna have to work on the laptop, which is up on this stand, but that's all right. We'll figure it out. All right. So what we are doing today, we are going to use Firefox and we are going to use NVDA screen reader. I'm going to walk you through how to use NVDA a little bit so that you'll know how to do it for your own testing purposes. And I'm going to adjust that a little bit so my face isn't behind my name. Looks like it might be a little bit. Okay, I think that's better. Um, and we'll see how it goes today. We'll see how it goes. It's definitely an experiment. But if you have never tested a website with NVDA before, we're in the same boat. Here we are. Um, we're going to be figuring this out, and no need to be intimidated. So far, I think I like it a lot better than VoiceOver, actually. So let's dig in. Let's figure out what we're doing here. All right. So um, NVDA is already on. You've already heard its voice. So if I move the mouse over some text, it automatically announces it. You know, if I put my mouse over an input, it'll automatically announce that. So maybe I'll just take a minute and kind of move the mouse around a little bit just so we can kind of get a feel for what's going to happen as we kind of move around this website with NVDA enabled.
Simplify accessibility remediation with AA Aardvark. Try AA Aardvark for free. Assign remediation tasks to developers, discuss issues, track their status, and verify fixes all from one powerful platform with AA Aardvark's remediation management suite. Help. Desk, navigation. Book, back, forward, reload. Book, save to pocket. Account. Extensions. Web developer. Color picker. Finish setup. Alert. Finish setting up Firefox dialog. Close. Import, unavailable. Import from previous browser. Extension. Fire, reload, back. Import bookmarks. Features. Remediate, menu navigation landmark list, assign remediation tasks to developers, discuss issues, track their with AA Aardvarks all-in-one remediation management, with AA Aardvarks all-in-one remediation management platform, save time and simplify accessibility remediation. With AA Aardvarks all-in-one remediation management use the issues list to group similar issues and prioritize fixes.
Okay. So we saw some interesting behavior there when we moved the mouse around. It seemed like most of the time, if I had it, if I hovered over one bit of text and it started reading it, and then I moved the mouse to another bit of text, most of the time it stopped and announced the new text instead. But there was definitely one case there where I moved from some text to that help button, that help beacon that's in the lower right hand corner, and it didn't interrupt itself to announce the new text. All right. So let's go ahead and
Bullet.
I'm just going to get, so just like voiceover, you can hit the control key at any point to have NVDA stop talking. So if you're just like, hey, I'm in the middle of something, stop interrupting me, you can just hit the control key and it will stop. Of course, if you do something else that's going to trigger it to talk, it'll start talking again, but you can just hit the control key again. So I'm just going to scroll and I'm going to try to put my mouse over on the
Simplify
corner
accessibility.
so that it's hopefully not going to hit any content. And I'm just going to kind of scroll through this page really quick and give us kind of the lay of the land and what we're dealing with here. So we've got a header up at the top with the logo and navigation. And then we have a hero section with a headline and some text and a graphic and a call to action, pretty standard for websites. Let's scroll down. Our next section is a video that is using the Able Player um, to include captions and other things like that, um, and a little bit of text to go along with it. And next we have um, simplified, like a little multi-column section where we've got a few little call outs of some features. And then we've got a bigger feature section with some screenshots and some text to go along with each of those. And another little multi-column section, a section calling out our support team and how to get in touch with them, and another little call to action to sign up. And then we have the footer at the bottom of the page. So it's a good layout of the screen that we're kind of dealing with today. So let's go ahead and go back up to the top and let's talk about some of the keyboard shortcuts. So one of the things that can make screen readers a little bit challenging to try to use is that they don't really have a UI or much of a UI at all, because of course, they are built for people who maybe cannot see the screen at all. So there's no need for a graphical user interface. Now, not everybody who uses a screen reader is somebody who has any kind of limited vision, but that is probably the biggest market for them. So that's why it can be a little bit confusing, a little bit intimidating to kind of try to figure them out, is there's not, there's no GUI, there's no like click this button and it'll do this. So it's all about keyboard shortcuts, and it's all about the one little GUI thing that you can bring up, which, if you remember from the voiceover video, was Rotor, and it was called Rotor. And I think in NVDA, it's called the Navigator. Um, so how we bring that up is, okay, just like voiceover, right? There was official voiceover keys to trigger everything. And we have the same thing with NVDA. There's an official NVDA button. By default, it is the insert button on the keyboard, but you can change it to caps lock, or you could probably change it to any other button that you want. But caps lock was the default secondary option. I did switch mine to caps lock just because on this particular laptop, the insert button is this little teeny tiny button that's up at the top, and it just seemed kind of inconvenient. So my NVDA button is caps lock. Yours by default will probably be the insert button. Just so you know, but you can change it in the NVDA settings. All right, so the first thing that we want to do, let's take a look at that NVDA navigator. So how we turn that on is we use the NVDA button plus F7. Now, because I'm using a laptop keyboard, right, I have to hold down a function key to actually press F7 because otherwise that button actually does something else. So it's going to be NVDA button plus the function button plus F7, but it depends on which keyboard you're using, whether or not you have to do that.
Elements list dialog. Desktop.
And
Elements list.
it brought it up
Elements list.
on the wrong monitor, but here we are. So, very basic Windows art interface here. Um, so let's go ahead and explore this. So you can see that we've got a panel called links, and that is going to give me the list of all the links that are on the page. So if I want to look for a particular link, this is how I'm going to do it. Um,
Filter by.
if
Edit all.
I,
Tree view.
there we are, skip to
Skip to
contact.
contact support 1 of 41 level.
140. Okay. We have quite a lot of links on this page, but we can use this interface. I'm going to stop talking in a second to actually go through a few of these links. If I'm looking for a particular link on the page, this is a quick way that I can do it. And this is why, this demonstrates to you why it's really important that your link text give you an idea of what your link is for and that it doesn't just say something like read more or click here, because that doesn't really tell me where I'm going to go. So let's go ahead and go down through these links and make sure that they all have text that tells me a little bit something about the link.
Skip to content 2 of 41 level 0. AA Aardvark logo. Visited. Features. Collapsed visited submenu. About. Collapsed submenu 5 of 4. Solutions. Collapsed submenu. Pricing 7 of 4. Contact us. Login 9 of 40. Sign up 10 of 4. Try AA Aardvark. Contact support 12. Start making your website. AA Aardvark logo. About AA Aardvark 5. Pricing 16. Features. Services 18 of 41.
Okay, I'm just going to stop for a second there. We have noticed that there is a weird issue on our site that we are going to figure out how to fix. That the menu is there twice, and it doesn't seem to, right? It seems to be there once for desktop and once for mobile. And that can be okay as long as it's coded correctly so that they don't both show up, but they're both showing up here as a set of links in NVDA. So there's a problem with that happening. And technically, there shouldn't really be a reason why both of those are needed. So we just need to kind of dig into that and figure out why that's happening on the site. So quick background on our website. Right. We have a development team, but they are very busy working on the product. So our marketing website is built using like a drag and drop page builder by our marketing team. And it is checked for accessibility on a regular basis. I mean, I do it in live streams, but we do it otherwise as well. We do check for accessibility issues. But of course, there are some challenges with trying to make an accessible website using a drag and drop page builder. And this is one of them. This is an example where this is a feature of the drag and drop builder that it wants to put this double menu here and use one of them for mobile and one of them for desktop. And that's going to make it difficult because now we're running into an issue, and how do we go about getting that fixed? So we're working, that is something that we were made aware of like just this week actually, and is something that we're working on. But that's what's going on here, is that the main menu is there twice. So that's part of the reason why there's 41 links, is that the whole navigation is duplicated. But all right, I'm going to keep going down through the list now.
Contact us 9, Audit Management 20, Visual Mode 20, Remediation Management, Help, Blog 20, free, 4 free, VS Stick 32 of, YouTube, Twitter 30, LinkedIn, Chrome 30, Firefox, Edge 38, Privacy, Terms 4, Accessibility.
Okay. So that got us down through the end of the links at the bottom of the page. And I think for the most part, it was pretty clear what all of those things do. I do think the Chrome, Firefox, and Edge maybe could use a little bit more context because what those are for is our browser add-on. And that's not super clear by just hearing the names of the browsers. So that's an improvement that we could definitely make is to make it clear that that's a link to go and download the Aardvark browser extension. Um, but I think for the most part, those links are pretty self-explanatory. We'll look into the double navigation and figure out why that's happening. And I think now we could go ahead and move on to the headings in the navigator and see what's happening over there.
Type. Grouping. Headings radio button checked Alt plus.
All right, so here is the headings panel, and this is presented as a collapsible tree. So we get a really good idea of the kind of structure of the document, how it's all put together, and how things are presented. So we'll start up at the top. We have Simplify Accessibility Remediation with Aardvark, which if I scooch this over, you can see is the heading that is at the top of the hero section. All right. So let's go ahead and go down through this and we'll take a look at what we might need to look at.
Tree view. Simplify accessibility.
All right, so starting off with our H1 at the top of the page, looks pretty good. Now, we do have this kind of secondary header, which looks like it's marked up as an H2.
Level 1. All-in-one tools to manage, resolve, and verify accessibility issues efficiently. 1 of 1.
Actually, that sounds like it's marked up as another H1. No, I'm not actually clear if that actually is marked up as another H1 or if it's a span inside the current H1, which I wouldn't expect to be picked up by NVDA, but we can take a look at that in a minute and we'll figure that out and see if there's an issue there we might need to resolve. All right, next
Level
up we
0
have,
media player expanded 2 of 2. Level 1 save time and simplify accessibility remediation 1 of 7. A simplified WCAG remediation process expanded 2 of 7 level 1.
and if I want to collapse these,
Main
oops,
landmark A simplified WCAG.
that was not it. Sorry, I thought that was it. Hold on.
Quick settings grouping.
Oops.
Project grouping. Accessibility remediation management with AAR. Elements list desktop. Desktop. Elements list. Desktop.
There we
Elements
go.
list.
Okay, thank you, NVDA. All right, is it
Space.
space? No. How did I do that?
List with
Oh my
4 items
goodness.
S out of list A simplified. Elements list desktop. Elements list.
Oh,
Desktop. Elements list.
I promised you it'd be a little clunky today trying to figure out NVDA, and here we are. There is a way to collapse those,
A
and
collapse.
there we go. Arrow key, that's what it was. So a left pointing arrow key to collapse it and a right
Expanded.
pointing arrow key to expand
3
it.
items.
All right, so
Collapsed.
let's go ahead and expand those, or I'm sorry, collapse those, and we'll keep going down the
Key
page.
remediation features expanded 3 of 7 level 1. Collapsed. Visual mode for easy, collapsed. Friendly, human support you can count on 5 of built by accessibility professionals, for accessibility professionals 6 of 7 level 1. All-in-one solution for seamless accessibility management expanded, collapsed.
Okay. So let's start digging into the page a little bit and figure out what's happening here and what's going on.
Type.
Um,
Elements list.
I think, well, actually
Type.
let's finish the
Grouping.
navigator panel here actually. We'll go to form fields.
Form
I
fields
don't
radio button checked Alt plus F.
Okay. I was thinking, oh, there's no form fields on this page, but of course there are buttons. We have a media player on the page, which puts all kinds of buttons onto the page, right? So play, restart, rewind, forward, hide captions, show transcript, faster, slower, preferences, enter full screen, volume, and help. I think everything except that help button, which I think is actually our help beacon at the lower right-hand corner of the screen. I think all of those are just buttons in the media player. All right, and they all seem to be labeled really well. Like I said, this is the open source Able Player plugin. So it's had quite a lot of work done on it. So I would expect it to be generally in pretty good shape, accessibility wise. So let's go ahead and take a look at the buttons.
Tree view.
Whoops.
Type. Grouping. Buttons
There we
radio
go.
button checked Alt plus B.
All right. And we have the same amount of, I think the exact same buttons that showed up under form fields show up under just buttons. And let's check out landmarks last.
Landmarks radio button checked Alt plus D.
All right. So I do see that I have a main section on the page, which is good. It's good to have one main section on the page. What I don't see on the page, right, is a header or a role equals banner for the header section of the page. So that appears to be missing. And we also appear to be missing the footer element or the role equals content info at the bottom of the page, which I would expect to see on most sites. So that's something that maybe we need to look into and may be a consequence of that drag and drop page editor. All right, so that is the elements list or the navigator in NVDA. And again, you bring that up by pressing your NVDA button, which is insert by default, and then F7 on the keyboard to open this. And escape key should close it.
Accessibility remediation management with AA Aardvark Mozilla Firefox.
Okay.
Accessibility remediation.
NVDA. Okay. All right. So it started, the focus moved back to the Firefox window once we closed that. And so it started announcing the page title again to let us know where we were. All right. Let's talk about how to turn NVDA on and off. So we'll use so it's obviously on right now. So to turn it off, it's actually just the NVDA button plus the letter Q.
Exit NVDA dialog. Desktop.
And it's
Exit NVDA.
insisting on putting everything on the wrong monitor. But here we go. This is what it actually opens up just to make sure, we didn't hit that by accident. And okay, we
OK
can
button.
say
Space.
okay. I want to close. And now NVDA is off. It will stop announcing things. To turn it back on, it is not an NVDA button, right? Because we can't use an NVDA button when NVDA isn't running. So to turn it back on, it is Control Alt and the letter N. I'm going to hold off on turning it back on for just a minute, and I want to take a look at our document outline. Okay, so our document outline, yes, it does have the problem that we identified in NVDA, in the navigator when we were looking at the headings. We have two heading level ones on the page. So that's something that we'll probably want to take a look at. I do wonder if that H1 is maybe built into Able Player. That's something that we'll have to check out. Or if we, 'cause there's not a visible heading on the page that says Media Player. Uh, so I'd be interested to figure out where exactly that's coming from. So that's one thing that we'll definitely take a look at. And I'm sorry, I forgot to talk about what I just did. So I have a browser add-on. If you've watched the last couple of live streams, it is called the Web Developer. Or I'm sorry, I was going to say it's called the Web Developer Toolbar, but it's not. It's just called Web Developer, and it is available for all browsers as far as I know. And it does give you a bunch of really handy tools for doing web development. It is not necessarily an accessibility focused tool, but more of a web development focused tool, but it does give you some really handy tools for testing some basic accessibility things. And one of the things that it can do is under the information tab, you can say view a document outline, and it will open a new tab in the browser. Sorry, I'm not used to how I have to click on this trackpad. It will open a new tab in the browser and it will give you an outline of what your document looks like. So we can see here that we have an H1. Okay, so What was interesting is that I feel like when we were looking in the navigator in NVDA and it announced this kind of subheader here, it said level one, didn't it? Or am I just imagining that? I swear it announced level one. Um, and it is not a level one, it is an H2, which it probably shouldn't be an H2. But that's better than it being an H1, I suppose. So I think probably that should either be just a paragraph or it should be maybe just a span wrapped inside the H1 with a little bit of different styling in it if we feel like it's actually part of that H1 heading. So we'd have to decide, do we think that's part of the heading or do we think it's part of the content that comes after? If we think it's part of content, it should be a paragraph. If we think it's part of the heading, we would want to make it just part of the H1. And then, like I said, we do have this kind of mysterious H1 for media player, which we'll have to see if we can figure out where that's coming from. I am curious if it's just something built into the media player itself. And then we have the rest of the page. So we have an H2 for another section of the page, another H2, right? So the H2 should be the sections of content that are on the page. Um, so another section, and the trackpad goes backward from what I'm used to on Mac. So sorry, sorry for the scrolling issues. And then inside each section, if we have subsections, those should be headed up by an H3. Um, and so that's what we're seeing here. So we have key remediation features, and then we've got 4 of them in that section. We have visual mode for easy verification, and then we've got 3 things that we're saying about visual mode. Um, then we have the section on friendly human support, and then this is where, oh, this is a call to action section that's toward the bottom of the page, and then this is the heading of our, that's the heading of our footer section, sorry. And then these are the little sections of content that are in the footer. And I'm not completely clear on what these are. They all again seem to be related to the media player. Um, so it seems like it's maybe some kind of little content section that's being inserted by Able Player onto the page using all H1s, which is not my favorite. But we could figure out and see what's going on there. And also that they're visible. Although I don't think we can double check when we fire NVDA back up again. I don't remember those showing up as heading options when we were looking at the list of headings. So I think those are probably hidden. So maybe there's some kind of menu that opens when you interact with the media player, in which case the headings there might be fine. And then they're otherwise not available on the page and not being read out by screen readers. All right. So let's go back over here. All right, so we're going to turn NVDA back on. So Control Alt N, and it does take a second for it to fire back up. Well, did I not do it right? It shouldn't take that long, I don't think. Let me try again. Did I hit the wrong thing? Control Alt N. Okay. Well, it worked when I was testing it yesterday. Okay, let's see. Can we start it up on purpose? Let's find out.
Welcome to desktop. Welcome to NVDA.
All right, here we are. We're back in NVDA again. All right. So you can see that I have checked right there to use caps lock as the NVDA modifier key. So because I have that checked, I'm using caps lock. If you uncheck that, it will use the insert button. You also have the option to automatically start NVDA as soon as you start the computer, which I have on. And also the option to show this dialog when NVDA starts. You can also choose if you
Most,
want
open, expanded,
the desktop or the laptop keyboard layout. You notice I'm using desktop even though I am using a laptop keyboard, and it is because this laptop keyboard does have a separate number pad over on the right-hand side. A very weird and skinny one, but it is there, which is the main difference that it seems to be looking for
desk,
um,
collapse. Welcome to NVDA.
on which keyboard layout it expects you to be using. All right, so let's go ahead and
OK. Accessibility remediation
all right, let's go ahead and start interacting a little bit with the page. Oops, let me scroll back up to the top.
Simplify accessibility remediation with AA Aardvark.
Thank you, NVDA. All right. Okay, so to start reading, we're just gonna hit our NVDA button and the down arrow.
Link skip to contact support. Link skip to content. Visited link graphic AA Aardvark logo. Menu navigation landmark list clickable with 6 items collapsed visited sub-menu link features. Collapsed sub-menu link about. Collapsed sub-menu link solutions.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and pause it because it's a little bit cumbersome to listen to that. And of course, many screen reader users speed up the voice, right? So that they're not listening to that at that speed. I think for us learning how to use NVDA today, we'll go ahead and keep it at that speed, but know that that is an option that you have. You can speed up the voice. All right, so as it starts reading through the page, it's obviously going to read through all of the navigation that's at the top of the page, which is not necessarily what we want. So we can try a couple of different things. We could, number one,
Contact us link.
oops, we're on contact us. So let's go back
Skip
over.
to content link.
So we have a skip to content link. We can try that out.
Main landmark heading level 1 simplify accessibility remediation with AA Aardvark heading level 2. All-in-one tools to manage, resolve, and verify accessibility issues efficiently, assign remediation tasks to developers, discuss issues, track their status, and verify fixes all from one powerful platform with AA Aardvark's remediation management suite.
Okay, I'm going to stop it there. So that worked. That worked great. So we tested our skip to content button and it's all working perfectly. Um, Another thing I do want to mention is that there are different voices with NVDA. This is the default one. And I tried out, it comes with, I think there's 4 that come with it out of the box. I tried them out and I actually kind of preferred the default one most, but of course everybody's different, so try them all out. Um, and you can do plugins for NVDA and customize it. I have not added any plugins to NVDA on this computer just yet. So this is NVDA as it works kind of out of the box. All right. So if we want to just keep going to the next item, just next item, it doesn't matter what kind of item it is, we would just use the down arrow on the keyboard. So I'm going to just press that down and we'll kind of take a look at, you can look at the screen and listen to what's happening and get a feel for how that's working.
Heading level 2. All-in-one tools to manage, assign remediation tasks to develop from one powerful platform with AA, link try AA Aardvark for free. Heading level 1 media player.
Yeah, I'm still a little baffled at that heading level 1 for the media player. So we'll figure out what's going on with that.
Clickable. Video player region clickable video timeline slider 0 seconds. Button play button restart button rewind button forward.
Okay, so now we're going to go through all the buttons that are in the media player. Um, we can do the next focusable item. So instead of just skipping item by item down the page, which is going to go, the next heading, the next paragraph, the next button, the next list item in a list, etc. You can just move between focusable items, which is just how you would do it without a screen reader, which is just by using the tab key. So I'm going to tab through, let's say I'll hit tab 5 times. We are somewhere on the media player buttons. So we'll kind of listen to what those sound like.
Restart button. Rewind button. Forward button. Hide captions button. Show transcript button.
Okay. So you can see what it sounds like when it gets to a button. The screen reader does announce that it's a button. So when you are assigning accessible names to buttons, you don't need to include that it's a button. The screen reader is going to announce that that's the case. So you could just say submit, and you don't have to say submit button, right? It's going to announce that it's a button. All right. Our next thing that we can do is to activate a link or a button. Same as it would be if you weren't using a screen reader. So on a link, it would be just hitting the enter key. And on a button, it can be the enter key or it can be the space bar. So either one of those is going to work to activate a button, and just the enter key works to activate a link. So let me go ahead and we'll just try to play the video real quick. So I'm just going to shift tab to go back to the play button.
Hide. Play button.
Okay, and then I'm going to hit the space bar to play.
Pause.
Manage full
Playing.
accessibility remediation projects all in one.
Play. Paused.
And then I just hit the space bar again to pause the video. You saw that that button switched its state. So it was a play button, and once I hit play, it became a pause button. That's a pretty common pattern that we see in media players, right? All right. Our next thing that we can do is we can hit the letter H on the keyboard to just browse the page by headings, to just move from one heading to the next to the next. So let's go ahead and try that.
Save time and simplify accessibility remediation heading level 2. A simplified WCAG remediation process heading level 2. Provide clear, actionable remediation steps to your team heading level 3.
Okay, so that would just keep walking us through the document, heading by heading, reading out the heading text and telling us what level of heading it is. And if I want to go backward, I would just use Shift and the H key. So I'll do that right now. So Shift H.
A simplified WCAG remediation process heading level 2. Save time and simplify accessibility remediation heading level 2. Media player heading level 1.
Mysterious level 1 media player heading. All right. So you can also navigate by heading levels. So if I'm hitting the H key, it's going to read to me headings of any level. So if it's a level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, etc., uh, it's going to read all of those out. But maybe I just want the sections of the page, right, which would be the H2s. You can do that by just hitting the number 2.
Save time and simplify accessibility remediation heading level 2. A simplified WCAG remediation process heading level 2.
Okay, and then the 3 columns that are in this section are H3s, but I want to skip those and go to the next section. So I'm going to hit number 2 on the keyboard and we'll see what happens.
Key remediation features heading level 2.
And again, you can hit Shift, the number 2, to go backward through the level 2 headings. Okay, so that's how we can navigate through a page by headings. We can get the lay of the land, figure out what's going on in the document. And of course, you can get the list of all the headings, that nice collapsible tree of all the headings, by opening the navigator with your NVDA key plus F7 on the keyboard. All right. We can also use landmarks and regions to navigate around the page. Now, we did see when we had the navigator open that we have a main section on this page and we have some navigation regions on the page, but we do not have a header or a footer. And then other items that you might have on the page is an aside, which is if there's a sidebar, right? Pretty common on blogs that there's a main content area and then a sidebar over on the side. This page doesn't have a sidebar, so I wouldn't expect there to be an aside, which is a role complementary. And then we are missing the footer also at the bottom. So that's something that we'll probably want to look at and see if there's a way that we can get those landmarks put in using that drag and drop page editor that we use. All right, but let me go ahead and hit the letter D, and we'll use that to navigate around the landmarks that are on the page and see how that sounds.
Menu navigation landmark list clickable with 5 items about AA aardvark link. Menu navigation landmark list clickable with 4 items audit management link.
So I do notice that one thing that's a problem is that it does recognize that there are these navigation regions on the page, but it's not telling me what they're for. And they do each have a heading on them. So if I were to hit, I think those are probably H3s. If I were to hit a 3 on the keyboard, I would hear what those headings are.
Resources heading level 3. Solutions heading level 3. Comparison heading level 3.
So I can hear what those headings are, but the nav elements themselves should have an accessible name on them that gives me an idea of what that navigation is for. So when we're navigating by landmarks, I can hear what that particular landmark is for. So I'm in the last column right now. So if I hit D, it should take me to the nav item that contains our last 3 nav items there.
Menu navigation landmark list clickable with 3 items vs accessible link.
Okay, so it read out the first link that's in there, but it would have been, I think, more helpful to hear a name for that navigation region. And then again, if you want to go backward through the page, you would want to hit Shift D to go backward through the landmarks. So we're at the bottom of the page. So let's go ahead and move. Let's scroll back up and put focus back
All-in-one
at the top of
solution
the
for
page.
seamless accessibility management.
All right. So I think
No next heading.
no next heading. Okay, I'm still at the very bottom of the page. Let's see. Is there a shortcut for jump to the top? Um, I guess I could. I don't see one, which seems unusual. I think I'm probably just missing it on my little cheat sheet here. So I'll figure out what that is so that next time we know what it is. Um, in the meantime, I guess probably if I do Shift D and go back through the landmark regions, I should be able to get back to the top pretty
Menu
quickly.
nav, no previous landmark.
There we are. Now we're back up at the top of the page. All right. So what is our next thing that we want to do? Okay, we can do uh, tables. We don't have any tables on this page. So next time we could look at a page that has tables. We can do lists. Lists often have important things in them, navigation, or sometimes lists of items that are in the middle of text. So we can go to the next list by hitting the L key. So let's go ahead and try that.
Main landmark list with 4 items bullet assign tasks to your team and track their progress.
Yeah, so it's this NVDA is going to talk. Hold on.
With bullet assign tasks.
All right, so it's this bulleted list that's over here on the side is what it just moved to. So let's hit the L key again and see where it takes us.
List with 3 items assign tasks to unlimited stakeholders with clear roles and responsibilities.
All right, so we have a heading followed by a list, basically. So that seems like a pretty good structure. And you realize that when I am landing on that list, it reads out the first item in the list. How do I get to the next item in the list? So I could just use the down key to go to the next item. But if I specifically want to just go to the next item in the list, you can do that with the I key.
Track issues with real-time updates. Use comments and notes to keep everyone aligned on progress. List with 3 items smart suggestions like add alternative text or improve contrast guide your team.
So in that case, we moved from the list that was over there on the right to the list that's over here on the left.
Smart links to W.
There we go. And you notice that when I moved from one list to the next, it announced that I was in a new list and then announced the next item on the list. Sorry, I'm just realizing that my clock is completely wrong. So, all right. So we've got about 10, 15, or I'm sorry, about 10 or 15 more minutes. Here, I was just trying to keep an eye on the time, but it is not 5:01 a.m. where I am. That is just wrong. It is 1:48 p.m. So that clock is a true mystery because that is no time zone that actually exists. All right, let's go ahead and keep going. Okay, we can use G to go to the next graphic.
Screenshot of the issue instance detail page in the AA Aardvark visual mode interface, listing the violation of success criterion, issue status, developer assigned, screenshot of issue, and comments. Graphic.
All right, so we heard that it announced that it was a graphic. I think VoiceOver announces image, NVDA announced graphic. But so the screen reader told us what kind of element that was. And that is why you will often see accessibility professionals say you don't need to say image of or picture of or anything like that in your alt text. The screen reader is already going to announce that it's an image or a graphic of some kind. So you don't need to waste space in your alt attribute describing that. You can just skip directly to a description of the image. So let's hit the G key again and see what happens when we go to the next graphic.
Accessible website icon graphic.
Okay, so it is calling out this little graphic here. I don't want to put my mouse on it and have NVDA start talking. I think I would probably make an argument that that is a decorative image that should probably have an empty alt attribute. Um, and uh, so we could probably remove that from our website. So we'll take a look at getting that taken care of. Let's try it one more time.
AA Aardvark logo graphic visited link.
All right. And then that is, of course, taking us to the logo that's here in the footer. And we have already visited that link. It is wrapped in a link. So it did announce both that it was a graphic and that it was a link and told us that we had already visited it because it is taking us to the homepage of Aardvark. And of course, we've already been to the homepage. All right. Now we can navigate by links. So if I want to just quickly, if I'm just kind of, I'm on a page where I think it's got some helpful resources, it's pointing me out at some information that I might be looking for. Maybe I don't want to have to go through and read all of the content. I just want to go through the links. So we could open that navigator, the list of elements, and just look at the list of links there and go through the links that way. But you can also use the letter K because L is saved for lists, right? So the letter K to go through all of the links on the page one by one, which is a good thing to do to make sure that the text on the links is correct. Now, we already took a look at the list of our links, but I'm going to try it just a few times on here so that we can hear what it sounds like as it navigates to the next link.
Menu navigation landmark list clickable with 5 items about AA Aardvark link. Pricing link. Features visited link. Services link.
Okay. So again, you can see that it announces that it's a link. So we don't need to ever include that kind of text in our accessible name of a link. And of course, Shift K, right, would take us backward through the links.
Features visited link. Pricing link. About AA Aardvark link.
Okay. We can also distinguish between visited and unvisited links. So if I'm interested only in going to links that I haven't visited yet, right? Like maybe I'm going through some search results and I'm trying to figure out, and I'm clicking a link, looking at it. Nope, that's not what I wanted. I'm going back to the search results. So those are going to get marked visited one by one by one. And I just want to go to the next one that I didn't visit yet. So I can do that by hitting the U key for unvisited links. So let me try a couple of those.
Pricing link. Services link.
So you can see that it skipped features, right? So
Desktop.
we were here at pricing and then I hit unvisited again and it skipped down to services because I did visit the features page on my way to this page. I did click that at the very, very beginning of the stream. So it skipped over the features link and I think it should go to contact us next. I haven't hit contact us yet.
Contact us link.
And then I do think I did visit audit management. So I would think I would expect it to go to visual mode next.
Menu navigation landmark list clickable with 4 items audit management link.
Oh no, it did go to audit management. Okay. Maybe I didn't actually visit that. Now, if I want to go to just the visited links, because maybe I was looking, I came back to search results, I looked some more, I came back to search results, and then I'm like, oh, what was that second link I looked at? Like, or what was that link about puppies? Like, I don't know. So you could say a V to just go to the visited links on the page. And again, like just hit shift and this letter, right? So you would take me to the next unvisited link. Shift U would take me previous back through the page. So let's go to the just the visited link. So I'm going to hit the letter V.
Remediation management visited link current page.
Yeah, because that's the page we're on right now. So obviously we visited that one.
No next visited link.
And that's it for the page. So that's
Services.
here. And
Services. Remediation
and
management.
yeah. So I see that that has a weird line break in it, and that is something we are in the middle of working on, actually. So don't worry, we will get that fixed. Um, but um, remediation management. I was doing visited links. Okay, so that's where it took me is right here. So let's see where we go next.
No next visited link.
That's the last one on the page. So let's shift V.
Menu navigation landmark list clickable with 5 items features visited link.
Features. Okay, so it took me, it skipped
Features.
these
About
two.
AA Aardvark.
Oops, sorry. And it skipped contact us, it skipped services, and took me to features. And I suspect if I hit it again, so shift visited to go to the previous visited link,
AA Aardvark logo graphic visited link.
it took me up here to this logo, which is a link back to our homepage. So that's the last page that I visited. So that's another way that we could get around the page. Let's see here. If we want to read an entire foreground window, which is for like a dialogue window that might pop up, we can do that with the NVDA key plus the letter B. If we're uh, we step away for lunch or whatever, and we're like, wait, what page are we on? We can hear the title of the current window by hitting T. So the NVDA key plus T. So let's try it.
Accessibility remediation management with AA Aardvark Mozilla Firefox.
It tells us exactly where we are, so we can get our bearings. And then let's see. Let's talk about reading some text. So we can skip around by line, by character, by word, by sentence, by paragraph, and we can spell words out. So those were all very similar things that we saw in our voiceover demo as well. And probably you wouldn't be doing a whole lot of that when you're doing accessibility testing, although you might want to test certain strings on the page to make sure that they are pronounced correctly and or spelled correctly if there's some special characters or something like that. So you may want to use a little bit of these features. So let me go back up real quick to the top of the page.
Main. No previous landmark.
Okay. So we're up at the top of the page, and let me move to our header section.
Main landmark simplify accessibility remediation with AA Aardvark heading level 1.
Okay, so I just hit the number 1 key on the keyboard to skip to the first level 1 heading on the page. All right, so if I want to repeat that, it is the NVDA key plus the up arrow. So let me go ahead and do that.
Heading level 1 simplify accessibility remediation with AA Aardvark.
So if I missed it the first time, I can repeat it. If I want to go to the start of that line, I can use, I think I would only probably want to do that if I'm in the middle of listening. And that one is not very long. So let me move down to the paragraph there.
Heading level 2, all in, assign remediation tasks to developers, discuss issue, object review. Assign remediation tasks to developers, discuss issues, track.
So you can see that when I hit the NVDA button plus the number 1 on the number pad, because I am on the desktop keyboard, that took me back to the beginning of the line, right? And started repeating the line again. Um, if I want to go to a certain character, um, that is just the left arrow key on the keyboard while it's reading. So let's have it go ahead and start reading.
From one powerful platform with AA aardvarks space. L. L. A. M dash.
Okay, so I see where we are.
AA
Let's see if I
aardvark
can.
logo HTTPS. Assign
We're right
remediation
here.
tasks to developers. Discuss issues. Track A. L. L.
Okay, so if there's a word that we're like, oh, wait, I didn't quite catch that word, you can spell it out letter by letter. You can also spell the word phonetically. So that's all. So it's a nice short word. So let's try it. And that is going to be the number pad 5 3 times quickly.
Alpha. Lima. Lima.
So if we're having a little bit of trouble, a lot of letters in the English alphabet anyway sound very similar, right? C, T, D. There's so many of them that sound the same, and it can be a little bit difficult to hear them. So you can have it spell it out phonetically. Okay, we can also use the F uh, button on the keyboard to go to the next form field. Now, we don't have a form on this page, but we do have form fields because we have buttons. So let's go ahead and hit F, and it should take us to the first button in the media player.
Video player region play button.
Here we are on the play button. Buttons, again, you can activate with either the space key or by hitting enter. And if I want to move to the next form field specifically, I can hit the F key. If I want to move to just the next focusable item, I can hit tab. And what is the difference between a form field and a focusable item? Focusable items, for example, include links. A link is a focusable item, but it is not a form field. So hitting tab would take me through all the form fields and all the links on the page, and if there were interactive components on the page of one kind or another. Collapsible trees, carousel, tabs, um, accordions, uh, all different, date pickers. There's all kinds of different kind of accessible, or maybe not necessarily accessible, but interactive is what I meant to say, components that could be on the page that would be included in the focusable elements. And whether or not those are form fields depends kind of on what they are. Um, like an interactive drop down of some kind is probably a form field, right? That's probably something you're selecting as part of a form field, but something like an interactive carousel is probably not a form field. So that would be the main difference between those. So tab to just move between any focusable item, which is the same as when we're just using keyboard navigation without a screen reader at all. And if we are using a screen reader, we can use F to move specifically between form fields, which again, we have not a form to fill out on this page in the traditional sense, but we do have button components on the page to control the media player, and those count as form fields. Okay. We can also specifically move between certain types of form fields, like if I wanted to move between checkboxes, for example, or selects, I can do that, radio buttons, etc. So next time when we do NVDA, we'll go through a page that has a form on it so that we can learn how to use NVDA to test forms. And then also tables. I think we're going to go ahead and skip tables today. You know, um, once upon a time, we used tables all the time to do layout on the internet. Of course, before we realized that that was not a great way to do things for many, many different reasons, accessibility being chief among them. But uh, we do still see tables occasionally, right, for some kind of tabular data. So I will get us a page that has tabular data and a form on it, and we will use that next time for testing out NVDA. Um, so we did find a couple of little issues. We have an image that has alt text that shouldn't have. We have a repeated navigation that we might need to look at. And of course, we have that problem with
A
the
simplified
hyphenation.
WCAG exit NVDA dialog. OK button.
Okay, I think we're wrapping up, so I'm just going to go ahead and turn NVDA off for the day. Um, and I completely forgot where I was. Okay, well, we found an image that had alt text that was decorative, so we need to take that off. Oh, and I was going to say we have this line break issue that is in the footer that we are actively working on right now, and figuring out a solution for our extra long text that's here, so that when you zoom the page to 200%, that we don't have overlapping text. So that is something that we're working on right now, and we'll be getting that fixed. And we have also that mysterious H1 that announces the media player. I actually don't know how to open the inspector on this, so let's see if I can just do inspect. Okay, I know the keyboard shortcut usually, but that's okay, this works. Let's see what we can figure out about this H1, which should be somewhere around this media player. Oh yeah, here it is. H1, able off-screen media player. So it is positioned to be off the screen, but obviously still read by a screen reader. So that's something I'm going to take a look at. I would prefer that not be an H1, because I like to have just one H1 on the page. I think that's a lot more clear. And it's interfering a little bit with the hierarchy of the rest of the content on the page. So I would be curious to see if that is a setting in Able Player that we could maybe adjust, to make that a different level heading. Um, so I'm going to take a look at that as well and see if that's something that we can address. I think that's where we're going to leave it for today, with NVDA. Thank you for sticking with me and all of the technical challenges and all of the fumbling around. So hopefully I've given you the confidence. NVDA is free. You can just go to the website, download it, and install it and play with it. It is Windows only. So if you have a Mac, you are out of luck unless you want to run Parallels, and have Windows installed. But thank you for joining me today. So next time we do NVDA, we'll look at using forms and tables, and we'll kind of do a quick review of some of the other things that we covered today and test another page, and see what kind of accessibility issues we can uncover. Uh, so uh, every other week, every other Wednesday at 1 p.m. is when I do these live streams. So feel free to join me next time. I'm not sure what the topic will be next time. I have lots of ideas. I think it might be bookmarklets, because I have found out lots of people don't know about them. So I think we might talk about bookmarklets a little bit next time. But hope that you can join me next time, and I hope that you have a fantastic day. Thank you so much.